Hi and welcome to today's video, and today I want to look at the different choices we have and why I'm stalling a little bit on this project. The main thing, when I started this project, I was very keen to be using the Arduino Nano due to its form factor and the costs that I get these modules for. But as I move along in the project, I'm starting to realise there's going to be needs for different units. So in some cases it's going to be an ESP32, or it could even be a Pico. Each module has its strengths and weaknesses, so I want to just touch on some of them today and explain this is why you're seeing very slow progress sometimes in the videos being released. So the Arduino Nano, the compromise on this module is that we need to use a CAN controller to be able to get to the CAN bus, and this requires the use of the SPI pins. So here you can see the 5 pins that we need to use for the CAN module. So pins 2, 10, 11, 12 and 13 we can't use for anything else. Arduino Nano also has a number of pulse width modulation pins, which are pins 3, 5, 6 and 9, 10 and 11. However, 10 and 11 are used for the SPI for the CAN module, so we can't use those 2 pins. Depending on our needs, the Arduino Nano also has a number of digital input and output pins, but as some of these are already being used for the CAN SPI connections, and we're going to be using some for pulse width modulation, it leaves us just with pins 4, 7, 8, A0 to A5. The Arduino Nano also offers us 2 analog input pins which we could use, which is pins A6 and A7. So far I've not come up with a need to use these as an input, as these are input only pins. So this leaves us with 13 inputs and outputs we've got available to us on the Arduino Nano if we're using it with the CAN bus. If we're using them for standalone modules, we can gain some of the pins back from the CAN module, which would offer us a little bit more, and these are great if you want to do standalone modules. But you also have a limiting factor on the size of the memory available to us and the speed that the MCU runs at. Finally, we come to the MCP2515 module. Now, this might be a weakness or a possible issue with this module with its limitations, and a better module might be available. Now this will bring in a slight increase in cost, and we may end up looking at the MCP2518FD module. This will still use the same pins and probably work with our software, but this needs to be tested on the layouts. So this brings us to our next module, which is the ESP32, and this can be handy for us within LCC, as it does offer us Wi-Fi capability and possibly Bluetooth capability. The ESP32 also has a built-in CAN module inside it, but it does need another module to be connected to it to give you the breakout to the CAN H and CAN L, which is a transceiver. I plan to try out the module you see on the right to see if this is a suitable one, but there is also another version that I'm looking at which might be a bit more beneficial to me and for people who don't want to have to do soldering. One thing we have to be aware of is the ESP32 is only 3.3 volts logic. Now this means some of these little transceivers are not 3.3 volts compatible, so you need to take care when ordering them. And the advantage with this is the transceiver only requires 2 pins, and these can be set within the software for the RX and TX. The other advantage is the ESP32 comes with 16 channels of pulse width modulation. So these are the pins you can see here we can use. Pins 1 and 3 are often used for RX and TX, which is handy for using when debugging, and some pins need to be used with caution as they affect the boot sequence. We also have a number of input-only pins, which are 34, 35, 36 and 39. So I'm not going to really look into using them in any project at the moment. Now, of course, you have got the Wi-Fi capabilities and Bluetooth, in which case some of the pins may not be usable. Obviously, you would free up the 2 pins that are used for the CAN module. So the next MCU I want to look at is the Pico. I'm going to look at the Pico 1. Now, the Pico 1 offers a lot of GPIO pins which are capable of doing pulse width modulation. The Pico also only needs a transceiver to be able to use it as a CAN bus module. So here you can see the pinout for the Pico. In this case it's a Pico 2. But here you can see this colour here shows it's capable of pulse width modulation or PIO. Now, some of these may be affected with different things, but I think this offers us another solution for the CAN bus and standalone modules. Obviously, this one does not have Wi-Fi. So while this module offers the most GPIO pins out of the 3 different boards I've shown you, again, you have to take into consideration next the memory and the speed of the processors. And then finally, we have the Pico 1 with W. Now this would come in handy if you want to do the Wi-Fi version, which then you don't need the transceiver. We have people who are testing this at the moment with some of the sketches that are available in the library. So if we take a look at the Arduino Nano, we can see the processor it's using currently is 328P. The clock speed is 16 MHz. It's got a single core, 2 kilobits of SRAM, flash memory of 32 kilobits, and EEPROM of 1 kilobit. And next, if we look at the Raspberry Pi Pico, the processor on this one is the RP2040. The clock speed is 133 MHz. It's dual core, and it has RAM of 264 kilobits of SRAM and flash memory of 2 megabits. It doesn't have EEPROM as such, but you can use a library to simulate EEPROM. And finally, if we look at the ESP32, we've got an expressive processor, clock speed of 240 MHz. Core, we have 2 cores. RAM, we have 520 kilobits of SRAM, which we've got a number of kilobits is usable for applications. We have flash memory, typically 4 megabytes, depending on the version of the controller you have. So hopefully this shows you some of the differences between the modules that I potentially can use. And it's a case of picking the best unit for what you want to do for your layout. Every layout is different. Everybody's going to have different ideas of what they want to do. And depending on the sketches which we use, you may see us showing the different boards. So hopefully that explains some of the situation to you. And the other thing I've been working on is building these 2 little modules here, which are going to help me when testing the various inputs and outputs. So hopefully you'll see these in the next week when I do the next video testing the last sketch.